supposed to be doing the work individually, even if you're both tackling the same problem. And obviously when we talk to supervisors, you might be saying, can we talk to each other about the problem? Yes, that's allowed too. You can learn any way you like, as long as the work that you submit is your own, when you set it. Okay, so it is individual. We will look at that particular point a bit later, because one of the things you are not supposed to do is know everything by magic. Okay? You learn from some places, including books and websites, and you learn from other people, and you learn from tutors, and what you don't want to do is be presenting their work as if it's your own. So we'll give you the guidelines so you know where to draw the line, and nobody will get into trouble for plagiarism or copying somebody else. So we will spend a little bit of time just giving you a bit of guidance on what we mean by individual and how to stay out of trouble. It sounds boring, but it's actually quite important. The other thing is just to sort of take a deep breath and think about how big this project is. Most projects are over an extended period of time. We will be doing it over 15 weeks. It is a 600-hour project. It's a 60-credit module. So those of you quick on your sums, how many hours a week is that?
40.
40. It's a 40-hour week. It's a full-time week. You're not doing any other modules, just the project. Now the big mistake a lot of students will make is they will work on the project about the same rate as they used to work on one of the modules they did last semester, which was about a 15-hour week or a 12-hour week, depending on which week you were working. And then they get into trouble. Okay, so you really have to throw yourself into this full time. This isn't the easy part of the project, of the module, of the course. It's the same rate as you probably were working at your hardest last semester, but you're concentrating on one thing. I'd love to have that luxury, but in theory you're concentrating on one thing. Now I know in reality that isn't true, because you've got families and you've got commitments and you've got shopping to do, laundry to do, and possibly a job, just to make life a bit more complicated. But we are expecting about 40 hours a week out of you. Okay, so it's a big thing you're doing, and you're doing it on your own, and that can be quite isolating, so we'll talk about that in a minute. And then the other thing we're supposed to do is it's supposed to build on the stuff that you've already learned from the rest of your MSc. Okay? You're not supposed to be starting something from scratch. It's probably not a good idea to choose a subject you know nothing about. Okay, it's the best idea is, we assume you're going to use the modules. So don't choose your weakest subject. Okay, try and choose something you know a bit about, and then you build on that. But at the same token, it is supposed to be a way to extend your skills and knowledge, so you can learn something else as well. So you don't have to know everything about the subject before you start. So something you know a bit about, but you might have to learn a bit more. Okay, so that's roughly where we pitch it. And finally, just to say, you do get an individual tutor, and I've used the word supported. I have to use this word carefully, because the tutor doesn't do the work, and the tutor's not going to tell you exactly what to do. Okay, it has to come from you. I'm going to keep coming back to this today in particular, about how it comes from you. The tutor's there is to guide you in the assessment. We know how it's going to be marked, so they should be able to tell you, well, that will get you credit, that won't, that sort of thing. Okay? Where possible, the tutor should know something about the subject. But the chances are, by the end of the project, you'll know more than the tutor about certain aspects of the problem you're looking at. So the relationship does change a bit. They are there as an expert in how to mark, assess, and manage projects, and you become the expert in a particular topic that you've chosen. And that's fine. The two of you come together, and if you work together as a team, you should produce something beautiful, and you can all have an A. There's no budget on them. Well, we don't give A's anymore, but you can all have top marks, okay? As long as work deserves it, unfortunately. Okay? So this is, the assumption is that something you know a little bit about, you're going to learn a bit more, and the tutor will guide you on the way. Little, few myths I ought to add to this list, but these are my top ones. The project on the Masters is not just about, well, I'm going to write a piece of software. And this is a problem when a student comes to me and says, my uncle owns this business and would like one of these. It's not a commercial project. Commercial projects and academic projects are quite different. And at Masters level, they get increasingly different. What we have to do is assess you as a student. So we have to assess your ability to do all sorts of things that are completely relevant to a business. If I could open up your head and look inside and see how much you know about computer science, and just how much understanding you have, I wouldn't need a project, but I can't do that. The only way we can assess you is to give you something like this project, where you control things, you explain things, and we set up the parameters and see how you perform. So if you're thinking of just writing a piece of software, it's not enough. We need to know your understanding. And on the Masters, we talk about investigative projects, being able to understand something that's perhaps not been looked at before. Investigating a problem, we talk about research. We talk about a hypothesis to be tested. So it shows your abilities to set up experiments, to analyse, all the things that we expect of Master students. Okay? Now we will guide you through this over the next couple of weeks. But it's not about writing a database for your uncle's business. It's much, much more. You might do some software development as part of it, but it's not about a product we're going to then give to somebody to be a benefit to them or to sell anything. The whole purpose of the project is to assess you. The project is about you, not about what you actually program. Okay? It's about you showing off. I'd love to call it the showing off module, because that's what it's really about. It's you showing off your computer science knowledge. And that changes the parameters a bit. It's more like a job interview than a software development job. Alright? So think about selling yourself rather than selling something that you've constructed. And you're probably closer to where we need you to be. It's not an assignment that is set by the tutor. The tutor doesn't. I know some of you have been very keen on looking at these project suggestions that I'm letting creep back onto the website. I am very reluctant to get those out too early because people grab them. Now, that's what I've got to do. It has to come from you. Because again, we're assessing you. And one of the things we want you to know is that you can plan and design a piece of work. And you can plan experiments. And you can plan an investigation. So we don't really want, we give you suggestions to be helpful, because sometimes a blank is like, I don't know, I have no idea what I'm going to do for my project. So sometimes the suggestions are helpful. But it's not a list, it's not like a recipe. We don't say, right, do this, then this, and this. That's what you get for a coursework assignment. Now we're looking for maturity. We want you to be able to design your own work and think it through. Okay? So it's not like anything else you've done before on this particular Masters. So you have to design it yourself. But well, with our help, okay? You will get lots of support with that. You'll have so much support you won't know what to do in a minute. But anyway, we will support you in that. One of the things that I think is obvious, but I do have to say, please do not see that this is the summer break and you're taking it easy. Because the biggest reason for failure is just leaving it too late. You may have just finished a whole load of exams. We tried to give you a week to go, right? So now let's pick yourselves up again, because now we've got to start the project, and you can't leave it to the last few weeks. If you think about it, your 40-hour week, you take 2 weeks off, you have 80 hours of work to catch up on. And that's 600 hours for the average student. If you're a weak student, you've really had it, because you have to put in more hours just to get up to scratch. If you're really strong in all the subjects, you might be able to shave off a bit at the edges and be fine. But a lot of students really struggle with some of the topics, and they have to put in extra hours. And I say to a student who's just looking at me in desperation, going, I've got too much to do. I say, it's only a little while, it's only 15 more weeks, and then you've got the Masters forever. You know, just bear with it. So please don't leave it to the last few weeks. And if you know of people who haven't quite got their act together and come back or are still on holiday, please shout at them, because we're moving very fast. You have to start fast and keep going fast. It's not something to be left. And the other thing just to be careful of, because we do say we're talking about your knowledge and we're assessing what you know about computer science, that you can't just get away with writing a report and stuff you found on the web or in your textbooks. Doesn't work like that, okay? So you have to actually do something. It talks about being a practical project. Okay, so there are projects that are like this, where you review your literature and you write about it. And that is expected. You are expected to do some reading and know what your subject is and be able to explain it. But the report shouldn't be teaching the tutor about a subject. The report should be about the work you have done. Okay? So at the end, it's work you have done. Not, I read this and it was quite interesting. You ought to know about it, tutor. Chances are the tutor already does. So be careful not to fall into the trap of teaching your tutor about computer science. Okay? What you're supposed to do is report on how your investigation went, or how your research went, or how your comparison of two different methods went, or whatever it is you've done. Okay? So we'll come back to, again, the content of the report later. And I keep talking about this sort of projects. That's the phrase that we use. A program of investigative and practical work. That's the flavour of computer science projects here. No matter what flavour of award you're on, that's what we want. Something investigative and practical. Okay, so not talk about, not just do, but actually investigate. Okay, so the best, I could go on for about an hour droning on about what that means, but the best description I found is in this book here, which is our recommended textbook we have for this module. Just to show you what it looks like. Here's a book. This is one we use quite a lot. Now it is available electronically, so you can read it online and not pay a penny if you're absolutely broke. I find that tedious beyond the, I can't bear to read books online, particularly ones like this that are designed to be read in the hand, but maybe you're different to me. So to read this book online, do you know how to do this? Is this something students sus by now? How to read a book online? I'm getting a mixture of response, some blanks and some, Okay, the quickest lesson ever. What we do at the university is we subscribe to an online book service, so you can read the books online, but you have to be at the University of Hertfordshire. At the University of Hertfordshire actually means either on campus or logged into on-campus systems. So if you log into StudyNet and follow the link from the reading list down to Voyager, you will get to an online book service eventually. Far too many links away for it to be properly designed. We'll give that to a master's student generally. But essentially, you follow the links through, you get to your online book. If you are not on campus and you're trying to do it from home, you have to be either logged in by the Virtual Private Network, VPN, or StudyNet, or some way that it thinks you're on campus. You don't actually have to be on campus, but it has to think you're on campus, okay? So you're logging in from the on-campus systems onto Athens. If you're not logged in, it will ask you for a password. At some point it asks you which institute you have to look for Hertfordshire or something. I can write a little crib sheet and stick that on StudyNet, and people are struggling, but if you're right, you can carry on. The other thing you could do is just buy it, and then you can carry it around and put your post-its in and your highlights on it. I did do a quick check this morning. It's about £29 this year on Amazon, £20 in a second-hand copy. I'm sure you can get it cheaper if you shopped around. Okay? So this is our sort of guide to projects. If you have never, particularly if you've never done this kind of project before, or you have never done a project before, which we have some students who've never done a project before coming from other institutions that do not have projects, it's probably worth an investment because it's a big thing to get wrong. It's a third of your masters. Try not to get that wrong. Okay? So that's my recommendation. Just to get back to that. No, I'll just press the wrong one. And for an investigative project, what we're encouraging students to do is have this research question or some kind of hypothesis to investigate. Now, depending on what subject you're in, that could mean different things. There are some that just look like a software development, but then we expect you to have a kind of mature sense of evaluation of the tools that you've used, and then if you've not used others, then it's tricky, and they have a huge learning curve, and they tend to do badly. The best masters projects tend to have a research question or hypothesis. So start there and have a look at the suggestions that we've got, just to get your thinking sorted out. But you can come up with anything you like. Okay? We will tell you whether it's rubbish later.
That's hard.
So there's the details. It might be hard. Better that we tell you the first few weeks than tell you at the end. Okay, projects in computing and information systems is the book. I'll hold you to all that, so you don't need to know that. And just a word on that idea of practical. We don't count reading as being practical. Some students say, loads and loads of research, I've therefore done something, therefore I can report on what I've done, ticking all the boxes, That won't get you any far. That project will probably fail, but will fail. Also, installing new software is not considered to be practical work. I spent ages trying to get this to work. That is true. This is modern life of computer science, is we do spend an enormous amount of time still just trying to get software to run. But that doesn't count. And learning a new software tool is not practical work. You know, so if you say, oh, I don't know, I learned C for this project. Okay, big deal. Why didn't you use something you did know? So we do tend to look for the work that you've done on your investigation or testing your hypothesis, but not all this other stuff that you have to do quite often, but that doesn't really count. You're looking at what you've done for your project. So the little things, I have rather oversimplified the assessment criteria. We'll look at them in more detail later. But this is the sort of thing the assessors will have in their head. And I need to tell you this now so you choose a good project. So I'm not saying, well, that's rubbish, because. Okay? It's do you know your subject area? Please choose something relevant. You may have an interest in origami, but it's not going to happen as a project. So what you need is something that's relevant to your subject area, just so that you can show off what you know about your subject area. So if you're doing distributed systems and networks, we need to know what it is you know about distributed systems and networks. Now that may sound obvious, but let's take an example of a student that's doing something related to databases. The data you enter into the database and your knowledge of that data is completely meaningless in the context of database design. It's just data. What you do with it and how you construct it and what you do, that's all useful, but the data is not important. You know, the fact that you've got a super duper guide to the wonders of the world, whatever it is irrelevant. World knowledge. Essentially what we need to know is, what do you know about your subject? And your subject is whatever you registered for. Obviously I've got 11 projects, student bodies in the one room. So depending on what subject you are. So what do you know about your subject area? The other thing we look at is, can you organise and deliver a programme of investigative work? As opposed to us organising it for you. So here we're looking for the maturity. You know enough about the subject, maybe not enough to actually finish the project, you've got to do some more learning, but you know enough about the subject to organise yourself, know what you've got to read, etc. Okay? And again, we'll take you through those steps. But can you organise it and can you deliver? Because this is like the job interview. Okay? We also assess, can you clearly report on what you've done and defend your conclusions? We do not want students to say, well, it worked, but I don't know why it worked. That's no good, okay? We want you to know why something worked. And even if your experiments fall about your ears and it doesn't work, it's fine. If you know why it doesn't work. Because we know you know a lot about your subject area, you designed the pieces of work, it kind of, you know, everything went to plan, but the results weren't what you were expecting, but you know why. So now you're a brilliant student, you know far more than when you started, and you were very good at organising it. It doesn't matter what the product is, and whether it works or it doesn't work at the end, okay? You set out to prove something and it wasn't, hey, we now know something we didn't before. Okay? The product's not important. We want to know, what do you know? Can you organise it? Can you actually explain it? Do you understand what you've done? Okay? And just to kind of put all that together, what I used to say to students, are you going to be a safe pair of hands? If I've got a research project, okay, and there's some funding coming from somewhere, when you've finished your Masters, do I dare give that project to you? Okay? That's where you've got to convince us as lecturers that you are the best student in the room, or you all are the best student in the room, for me to give the next project to. To say, right, we'll investigate. It could be a research project, it could be a new application, it could be just trying to evaluate something. Whatever it is, is it safe to give that project to you? So I need to know whether you know your subject, you're organised, you can explain, you understand what you're doing, and even when it goes wrong, you still get it, okay? So that's my overall thing. Show off to me so I could give you the next project if I had one. By the way, I don't actually have any projects at the moment to give to anyone, so don't pester me for a job at the end, unless if we've got funding opportunities and anyone's interested in going into research in our department, we will let you know. But it is true that from the Masters, we quite often pick some of the best students and just say, some projects. Would you like to? Yeah, okay. So but that's what's in the assessor's mind. And it's a mixture of practical skills and academic skills. Because you're at master's level, we've moved away from preparing you for the workplace, we're preparing you for something much better. You're not just practicing, you're not just following good practice, you're designing it. So it's kind of step up. So that topic area. Yeah, I'll let you choose from that list of suggestions if you insist, and they will probably all be up by the end of tomorrow. They're gradually making their way back. Some of them are not as good as others, I have to say. They are variable quality. But as I find a suggestion, I'll put it over there, give you some thought. And you can take one of those suggestions, but from there you have to develop your own proposal. Some of them are a little bit dated now. I was looking at some of them from 2005. Probably done now. But you can start from there, if you just haven't got any ideas of your own. Or you can develop your own idea. Either will do. Okay? No restrictions in there at all. The suggestions are there to be helpful, but they're not there to control. So you can have your own idea, or just use one of the suggestions as inspiration. But what we will insist on, it is appropriate for your award. If you produce a database for a web front end, and you don't consider security, and you're on secure systems, or mobile computing or something, what's that about? You know, we've got to try and match it up with the award that we've got. So one of the jobs I'll look at when I've got your proposals is this going to fit? Okay? So this is one of the things we want to be able to do, is judge if your project's going to fit your award. And ideally, it should build on your other modules. You don't actually sit, there's no prerequisites, because obviously we can't predict what every project would be. But I might question if you've been doing one set of modules and then you suddenly take a leap and do something completely different. You think, well, why is that? We do have that sometimes because students bring experience from elsewhere into their project, because it's free-form. They might say, actually, I do know something about this. What I've been doing on this MSc is learning the stuff I didn't know before, but now I can put it all together. Okay? And you have a conversation with the students about whether it's sensible or not. But normally, it should build on your other modules. And one of the other things I'll do try and check is it should be fairly challenging, but achievable. Okay, so there are some project proposals that I see going past and think, not a hope in hell of finishing that by September. And you go back to the students and say, nice idea, but we need to cut it down. Or it could be the other way up. Nice idea, but what are you going to do next week? Okay? So one of the things we'll be looking for is whether it is a challenge, but it's achievable. Now sometimes that's difficult to judge, and don't worry about that. At the beginning you quite often don't know where the end is going to be, because of stuff you don't know. But a good guess will do, okay? And we can change it as we go along. So when you choose your topic area, it doesn't get fixed in stone. You don't register a title and are forced to stick to that. There's nothing like that. It's just for us to give you the kind of feedback as to whether we think this is going to work for you in terms of subject and size and doability and stuff like that. Okay, so it's just nudging you along in the right direction. Oh yeah, your supervisor. That's probably the one that will help develop your ideas the most, just through conversation. But your use of initiative is expected. And then there's a circular argument that happens here. You haven't got a supervisor yet. You're on your own at the minute. Because what I'm going to try and do is give you a supervisor that suits the project as much as possible. But you're thinking, I don't know what the project is, but I don't have a supervisor to talk it over with. I know that's a circular argument. If all else fails, I'll just allocate you one and hope for the best, and maybe we'll change it later. But essentially, you start off by just coming up with your idea. And don't panic. As I say, you're not committed to the idea, and your project proposal counts for 0 marks. It's just to get you started. So it doesn't matter if that first attempt to get something down on paper is a complete and utter disaster. Okay? We'll just help you as much as we can. It's just about getting you started. But if you give me a little bit of a clue as to what you're trying to do, I'll try and get you a supervisor that suits you. Okay? Let's just have a quick look at what the deadlines are. The proposal, I'm going to try and get you to do it by next Thursday. So I'll have one more session with you before it's due in. So essentially that's about 60 hours of work away, roughly, to get your proposal together. And the little thing in yellow says it's worth nothing. However, what I mean is, it's worth no marks. But it is worth something. If it tells me you're here, I have a list of students. It's probably half fiction. If I get a proposal from you and think you're not on my list of students, I'll make sure you get a supervisor and talk to you about why you're not on my list. It could be something that we need to sort out, something about your registration. It could be that you think you're doing one award and we think you're doing another, and we'll sort that out as well. So it's one thing that says, I'm here and this is what I think I'm doing, and I'm going, yes, that's fine, here's your supervisor. A lot of times it's, I'm here and I'm going, are you? Or somebody might not be here, and if you don't hand in a proposal, I would prefer you to hand in one with your name saying, I haven't done it, but I'm here, than to hand in nothing, because I might take it as an indication that you are not here. Okay? So spread the word to all those students who aren't very good at attending or handing things in, that if they see 0, there are consequences, because I'll be chasing them going, could you talk to me in the next 2 weeks, because if I don't think you're here, I'm going to take you off the module. It's a sad fact of life that when we have high failure rates, the government get very cross. So one of the things we do is we kick all the students off that we don't think are really here. We're going to fail because they're not here. They're not going to hand anything in. So I'll be looking out for students who hand in nothing. So if you've done nothing, hand in a piece of paper saying, I've done nothing, Lynette, but I'm here, and I'll know you're here. Alright? But you won't get any help from the proposal. And the whole idea of writing down the proposals, you get some assistance and we get some feedback and we get you started and we get you in the right way. So please don't plan to hand in nothing, but we'll try and get you started on your project. So it happens quite soon. Don't panic over it, just do your best. The better you do, the better we can help you. Okay? The one you start to have to worry about, again, we let you mess up at the beginning, is your mid-project report. Because the chances are you won't have much clue in your project proposal, or even if you think you know what you're doing, the first feedback you might get is don't do that. So you probably want another chance to say, am I still on the right track? So about 7 weeks away, we get you to hand in a mid-project report. And one of the things we look at for that is, can you write? Do you know how to actually write a report? And we try and give you a little bit of feedback as to how well your project is likely to be at the end. We do try and turn those around quite quickly, but I will give you a rough idea of what that means nearer the time, the mid-project report. And it just tells us, this is what I'm doing, this is what I've learned so far, and this is what I'm going to do. And you're going, yeah, you're fine, or no, you're not going to make it, or something. Okay? The biggie at the end, the final project report will take the vast majority of the marks. Hopefully you've sorted yourself out by then. It's September, 15 weeks away. Keep leaving space again. Right, final project report. 15 weeks away. That lands on the map, and then we start grading with vengeance. So you have a little bit of credit for doing something midway, and then the final report. Now the way we're going to work this is, I need to ship the pieces of paper for the proposal very, very fast, because I need to get your supervisors on board fast. So for that one, I'm going to ask you to do 2 things. The instructions will come more detailed next week, but I'm going to ask you to hand it in on StudyNet and on paper. I know that's duplication, but it means I don't have to waste 2 days printing off 100 proposals. Okay? So I can check that it's come in by looking down on the list. StudyNet will record that it's in, and if I've lost it, I know it's my problem. Okay? But if I've got a piece of paper already printed, I can get it to a supervisor quickly. I can quickly flip through. So for my benefit only, could you, on that first proposal, give me it both ways? If you're worried about the deadline, not that there's really any penalty, I suggest you get it on the StudyNet first, because it does mean I can email a tutor and say, I want you to supervise that one that's on StudyNet, go and have a look it up. Then the tutor gets cross, because I'm not handing them a piece of paper, they have to look it up and print it. So, but we are trying to move quite fast for that proposal, so try and get it to me in both forms, so I can check you've submitted it, and I know there's a piece of paper I can find in that file. The mid-project report, the intention is that we'll do that probably electronically, because I don't see much point. The tutor's just going to be looking at that. But your tutor may have different ideas. Okay, your tutor might say, can I have a paper copy? Because I know what happens. What happens, we end up with 6 different versions of Word and a PDF, and somebody hands in a Works document, and somebody else hands in a Microsoft project document, somebody else hands in a Pages document, and someone else hands in a word processor they've never heard of document, and you spend half a day just trying to install software to print off and read the things you've got submitted. We will try to find some simple way of controlling that, but that's not so critical the mid-project report. That will be really between you and your tutor saying, "Am I doing all right?" Okay. The final project report has to be in on paper. We'll ask for 2 copies. They get given to 2 different markers: your supervisor, the project tutor you've worked with, and somebody you haven't been talking to. So that has implications for how you write it up. But it tends to be a bit of a wad. Okay? It's a bit of a fat thing. So we ask you to print that off for us and submit those. So for those of you thinking, what days do I have to be in the university? The dates are the first one and the last one. You might get away with not being in the university in the middle one, but of course you can always come in before the deadline if that makes life easier for you. Okay? And hand your paper in. Then there's another time you're going to have to be around, and this might cause some problems. I'd like to know about them earlier rather than later. We've scheduled in some project presentations. Again, it will be to you and the 2 people marking your projects right at the end. You hand this in 1 week, and then the following week they'll start it, and you just arrange it with your project supervisor and the second marker. You just arrange it. You'll get told who they are, and you'll be emailing them saying, "Can I do it on Thursday?" And they'll go, "Yeah, fine, we'll see you on Thursday." And it'll be about half an hour. So you need to be able to negotiate this. But if somebody really can't be in the country this time, they need to know sooner rather than later, okay? So we need to do something about this. And apart from that, you can negotiate with them. So there'll be a little huddle of 3 people in a lab somewhere. And we try and get them all done in the first week, but they might spill over. And the reason we might get them in the first week is because in the second week all the other students arrive and the place gets suddenly very, very busy. Can't find a quiet corner anywhere. Okay? So as soon as we can after that Tuesday the 13th, we'll get those project presentations. In fact, there is a possibility we might start them on the 14th. Okay? Near the time. I'll talk to the tutors about their availability. But most tutors like to have a quick look at the report before we do that. Now there's no percentage hit against this project presentation at all. It's part of that. What it's about is you don't get sort of so many marks for the presentation, so many marks for the report. We mark the project. We mark it by reading the report. And I have to say, some of you are better writers than others. And sometimes you read the project report and think, still don't know what the student's done. This gives us an opportunity for us to go, could you explain what you've actually done, because we didn't understand that report? Or it gives you the opportunity to explain something that you have, something that you have since realised, I didn't put that in the report, I should have done. Or, if we really can't work out whether you're incredibly clever or just it was a fluke that you actually jumped at that solution, then we can ask you to explain more about it if we've got questions. So this is really about helping the assessors to mark your project. Okay? So those 2 go together. But you won't get a mark for that and a mark for that, you'll just get a lump. Okay? That's your project. How are you done? You need to move. Right, the support you're going to get.